Alanya is one of the most visited travel destinations in Turkey. It has 300 days of sunshine, the prices are low and the water is clean. It's the place that perfected affordable, all-inclusive tourism. Alanya sits on the southern coast of Turkey, along the Turkish Riviera, the famous stretch of coastline from Antalya to Mersin, where the Taurus Mountains meet the Mediterranean Sea. If you take a flight to Alanya, you will either land at the rather limited Gazipasha Alanya Airport or at the Antalya Airport, which is 120 kilometers away. Neither choice is perfect and both involve compromises. Once there, you'll be one of the 6 million annual travellers that visit Alanya. That number sounds maybe a bit far-fetched, but it's true. North African destinations faced political instability. Greek islands got expensive. Spanish costas saturated. Turkey positioned itself as the affordable, stable and reliable alternative. Alanya captured market share during periods when competitors stumbled. The streets are a mix of orderly coastal roads and more chaotic inner-town lanes. The city is generally clean in the main tourist areas. Streets along the beaches, promenades and main roads are of the highest standard. Alanya is considered safe for tourists, especially in central and coastal areas. Traffic can be more of a concern than crime. Drivers sometimes ignore pedestrian crossings, so caution when crossing streets is advised. For centuries, Alanya lived quietly. Citrus groves, fishing boats, local markets. Then came the 1970s, when the Antalya coast started to appear in European travel catalogues. Tourism began as a seasonal experiment. There were a few pension houses, curious backpackers, and buses that took all day to get there. By the 1990s, it had exploded. Charter flights from Scandinavia, Germany, and Russia filled the small regional airport, and the coastline turned into a corridor of restaurants and hotels. Tourism is still Alanya's economic spine. The Antalya region receives more than 15 million visitors a year, and Alanya claims a healthy share, around 15% of all arrivals on the Riviera. That's millions of people walking its promenade, riding the funicular, and posting the same sunset from Cleopatra Beach every evening between June and October. There are over 600 hotels, ranging from family-run pensions to all-inclusive resorts that could feed small towns. The town's economy breathes in time with the tourist season, quiet and practical in winter, noisy and glittering in summer. Compared to Western Europe, Alanya is cheap. Compared to rural Turkey, it's not. A simple Turkish breakfast at a family cafe might cost 500 Turkish lira, but a similar plate on the beachfront with the same olives and slightly less charm can easily get twice as expensive. It's the Riviera effect. The closer you get to the water, the faster your lira evaporates. Still, even with the recent inflation, Alanya remains one of the more affordable Mediterranean coastal cities to live in, especially when compared to Spain, Italy or France. The population of Alanya is a bit like the Mediterranean itself. It's always shifting. Officially, about 330,000 people live in the district year-round. Unofficially, that number stretches to nearly 1 million during summer. Hotels fill, short-term rentals multiply, and every restaurant that's been empty since February suddenly has a waiting list. It's seasonal mathematics, and in Alanya it works like clockwork. Demographically, it's one of the most cosmopolitan towns in Turkey. The permanent population includes not just locals born in the region, but also thousands of people who have moved here from all over the country. They came from Konya, Ankara and the Black Sea coast, drawn by jobs in construction, hospitality and retail. Then there's the foreign population, which is unusually large for a city of this size. Around 40,000 foreign residents live in Alanya. The biggest groups are from Russia, Germany, Scandinavia and increasingly Central Asia. Culturally, Alanya is a hybrid. Turkish at heart, Mediterranean in pace, and international in execution. The bazaar still sells spices and gold, but the neighbouring cafes serve espresso and Wi-Fi. The Friday market remains one of the liveliest in Antalya province. It's chaotic, loud, and full of fruit that actually tastes like fruit. The restaurants serve everything from kebab to sushi, and the local football club, Alanya Spor, does a decent job in the Turkish Super League. Alanya's urban growth has been fast, but not reckless. There are high-rises, but also parks, bike lanes, and an oddly sincere attempt to maintain order. The funicular up to the castle feels like a symbol of the city itself, modern machinery connecting to medieval stone. The castle of Alanya isn't one building, but a whole system, a walled world stretched along the spine of a peninsula. Its outline follows the natural form of the rock, a long ridge with sharp drops on both sides, the sea below on three fronts, and the modern city pressed against its base. The fortress covers about 10 hectares, which is large enough to contain ruins, streets, and gardens. From a distance, especially from the harbour, it looks almost improvised. The site has been occupied for thousands of years, but what most people see now is Seljuk work from the 13th century, when Aladdin Keykubat I took the city and turned it into a naval stronghold. The walls stretch for nearly 6.5 kilometres, built of local limestone and red brick. The architecture is exact and functional. 83 towers still standing in some form, guarded gates and signal points. Some sections hug the cliff so tightly that they look like part of it. The Ahmedek fortress, near the top, served as the final stronghold, with thick walls and cisterns for siege storage. The inner castle sits above everything, a self-contained citadel with the ruins of a palace and the remains of houses that once belonged to military officers and administrators. The Red Tower, just below the main fortress near the harbour, acts almost like a preface to the castle. Built in 1226, the tower is 33 metres high, octagonal, and built from a red brick that gives it its name, though the colour changes with the sun, from deep rust to coral to pale clay. It guarded the Tersane, the Seljuk shipyard, and protected the port against naval attacks. Together, the tower and the fortress formed a single defence network, one watching the sea, the other controlling the heights. Inside, the Red Tower is stark but ingenious, 5 floors connected by wooden stairs, with arrow slits, vaulted ceilings, and an open top that once held catapults and signalling fires. Today, the castle is Alanya's main landmark. There's no drama in the ascent. The funicular now carries visitors from the beach to the walls in minutes. Some paths are restored, others left rough. A few cafes are there, but most of the space is open and quiet. The wind comes straight off the sea, and the sound of the city fades under it. From the highest platform, you can trace the coast east toward Gazipasha and west toward Antalya. The famous Cleopatra Beach is stretching for approximately 2.5 kilometres along the western side of the Alanya Peninsula. It's one of the most popular beaches on the Turkish Riviera. The sun hits the bay here all day from the first light until it slides behind the ridge. There's no harbour clutter and no industrial backdrop. The castle above makes it feel cinematic. Wherever you stand, you can see the walls and the red tower in the distance. The sea here behaves. It's calm, shallow, and easy to swim in. Even in winter, it looks inviting. The name, of course, is a story. Legend says Cleopatra herself once swam here when Mark Antony gifted her the entire coastline as part of a royal gesture that sounds suspiciously exaggerated. Even the air is said to feel different here, lighter, saltier, with finer sand than on the city's eastern side. Cleopatra Beach has a subtle texture that surprises travellers expecting soft powder. The grains are heavier, more mineral, warm by late morning and hot by afternoon. It holds heat well into the evening, so when the sun drops behind the ridge, you can still feel warmth through your feet. The clarity of the sea comes from that same mineral composition. The heavier sand settles fast and keeps the water transparent even on busy days. The beach is not untouched, but it's managed with a kind of steady competence. Blue flag certification, regular cleaning, lifeguard patrols, and an absence of the worst forms of noise. There are still beach bars and parasails, but they coexist with families and quiet readers in the shade. The beach is easily reachable on foot from most central Alanya hotels. Public transportation also runs regularly along the coast road. As the most famous beach in the area, it can get very crowded, especially during the peak summer months. For a quieter spot, it's best to go early in the day or towards the end of the season. While the sunbeds and umbrellas are for rent, the beach itself is public and free to access. You are always welcome to lay down your own towel on the sand. The Alanya Funicular is technically a short cable car line, but functionally a funicular in spirit. It ties the two zones together, the noisy beach strip below and the centuries-old castle precinct above. The lower station stands near Damlataş Cave and Cleopatra Beach on the western side of central Alanya. This area is already dense with hotels, cafes and souvenir stands, so the funicular slips into an existing tourism corridor. The upper station is near the Ahmedek section of Alanya Castle, close enough that even a tired visitor can handle the final walk. Between them lies a slope of pine trees, cliffs, and scattered houses, previously accessible mainly by a narrow road that bus drivers knew too well. The project belongs to the 2010s wave of vertical mobility infrastructure in tourist towns. Construction began after years of discussion about traffic around the castle and the need to distribute visitors more efficiently. In 2017, the line opened to the public. From day one, it functioned less as public transport in the usual sense and more as a carefully framed viewing device. The line is short, under a kilometre. Small enclosed cabins run on a cable, moving continuously during operating hours. Reaching the funicular is not complicated. From Alanya's harbour or central bazaar, you walk or take a short bus ride west along the coastline toward Cleopatra Beach. Public buses, marked clearly, stop close to Damlataş. So do the small orange minibuses that circle through the city. The journey itself lasts only a few minutes. There is no dramatic tilt, no sense of fear for most riders, just a gentle, continuous climb. Ticket prices, modest for many foreign visitors, can feel high for locals, especially those who might want to use the line more than once. Damlataş Cave was discovered in 1948, accidentally of course, when workers were blasting stone for Alanya's harbour. What they uncovered wasn't just a hollow space, but a perfectly preserved underground chamber of stalactites and stalagmites, some of them said to be 15,000 years old. That kind of number makes tourists lower their voices and locals raise ticket prices. The cave isn't large, it's almost modest by Turkish natural wonder standards, but what it lacks in scale, it makes up for in atmosphere. The air inside holds high humidity, around 90%, and a steady temperature of 23 degrees Celsius all year. The cave is promoted as a natural therapy chamber for respiratory conditions, particularly asthma. There's even a small room where patients sit for hours, breathing the cave air. Whether it truly helps is debatable, but in southern Turkey, believed to help is often as good as proven. Geologically speaking, Damlataş is part of a karst system, limestone dissolved by groundwater over thousands of years until it sculpted those dripping frozen forms. The name literally means dripping stone, a translation that sounds more poetic in Turkish. You can walk there straight from Cleopatra Beach, still sandy-footed. That accessibility is why Damlataş became one of the first travel attractions in Alanya long before the modern resorts took over. The Sealanya Seapark is just west of Alanya, near Turkla. It's marketed as a marine paradise, which is a bold claim, but one that holds, at least partially, once you're inside. The park occupies a stretch of flat seaside land that's been turned into a kind of semi-natural aquarium complex. It's divided into two worlds, the Sea Park, which focuses on swimming, snorkeling and staged nature, and the Dolphin Park, which focuses on animal shows. The Sea Park part is what people come for, a series of man-made lagoons, saltwater pools, and underwater tunnels stocked with tropical fish that probably never applied for Turkish residency. You can snorkel through coral gardens, float among rays and small sharks, and feed fish from your hand. The Dolphin Park section is a modern amphitheatre built around large saltwater pools, where trained dolphins, sea lions, and sometimes even beluga whales put on several daily shows. The shows last about 45 minutes, and the park runs them multiple times a day, especially during the high season. The seating area holds hundreds, shaded but open to the sea breeze. Visitors can enter the pool in small groups, touch the animals, and do a brief supervised swim. If you ever reach that point in Alanya where your brain starts hating beaches and sunscreen, then Green Canyon is exactly the reset button you need. It's about a 1.5 to 2 hour drive from Alanya, depending on traffic, patience, and your relationship with Turkish mountain roads. Most people go on a day trip, usually organised through local tour operators who handle everything. You can also drive yourself. Follow the D400 highway toward Manavgat, then head north along the river. The Green Canyon is not a natural wonder. It's a byproduct of a dam, specifically the Oyma Pinar Dam, built in the 1980s on the Manavgat River, about 90 kilometers west of Alanya. The dam created two artificial lakes, the Upper Green Canyon Lake and the Lower Reservoir, surrounded by the limestone ridges of the Taurus Mountains. The dam itself is massive, 185 meters high, one of the largest in Turkey. It was built to harness the Manavgat River, whose water originates far up in the Taurus Mountains and flows all the way down through the forests, gorges and farmland before finally spilling into the Mediterranean Sea near the resort town of Side. The boat tours are the standard way to explore. They glide slowly through the narrow sections of the canyon where the walls rise on both sides, sometimes with eagles circling above. The water is cold, properly cold, but swim stops are part of the ritual. The canyon sits around 400 meters above sea level, but feels even higher. The Green Canyon Lake is fed by underground mountain springs and the upper stretches of the river. The minerals in the rock dissolve into the water and create that incredible emerald green color. The lake is deep, in some spots over 100 meters. The Manavgat continues its way south after the dam, past the Manavgat waterfalls, another popular stop on the day trip circuit. What's your favourite resort on the Turkish Riviera? Let us know in the comments. If you loved this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to World Travel Guide.